Look at the blue area on the map. In around 1752, it was an area that was claimed by France. But the English had also claimed this same piece of land. Also, some Native American Indians wanted it for hunting grounds. When three groups of people claim the same piece of land, sometimes that can cause trouble. Now that we have that straight, let us continue. The English were gradually moving farther west out of the colony of Virginia because they were wearing out their tobacco farms from over-farming. When a piece of farmland was worn out, they would simply abandon the farm and get a new one farther west. A group of rich men saw that soon there would be a demand for land west of the Appalachian Mountains. So the King of England gave those rich men permission, and they bought a lot of land in the Ohio Valley, the blue area on the map, for settlement. But when English fur traders went into the Ohio Valley, the French, who also had a claim on the land, told them to get out of the valley. The English fur traders also found that French forts were being built in the valley. The news that French forts were being built in the Ohio Valley upset the Virginia governor, Dinwiddie. So, Dinwiddie sent a messenger by the name of George Washington to tell the French officer of one of the French forts to get out of British territory. George Washington gave the message to the French commander, who replied politely that the Ohio Valley was claimed for France and that the French intended to keep it. He also told Washington that the English must get out of French territory. When Washington gave the Virginia governor Dinwiddie the message from the French commander, Dinwiddie sent Washington and some troops to drive out the French from a fort where the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania now stands. But though Washington and the troops tried, they could not succeed. Washington and the troops were met by an army of French and Native Americans. That was 1754. Washington failed to beat the army of French and Native Americans. What were Native American Indians doing fighting alongside the French? I can hear you asking that, and that is a good question. You see, some Native Americans liked the fact that the French were only fur trappers and had few settlements in New France. The Native Americans also liked to trade furs to the French in exchange for items such as guns, axes, pots and pans, and needle and thread. But those Native Americans did not like for the English to be settling Native American lands and driving the Native American farther and farther west out of their hunting grounds. So, when the French talked to those Native Americans, they helped convince the Native Americans to fight with the French against the English. After Washington and his troops could not succeed at driving the French from the fort, the next year, 1755, General Edward Braddock arrived from England. With him was a new, trained army. Their goal was to drive the French back to Canada. Washington and 500 soldiers from Virginia and other colonies joined Braddock, and Braddock moved his army westward toward the Ohio along with Washington and his soldiers. Braddock and his army wore red uniforms and tall hats. They also fought European style. They did not know how to fight Native American style. This worried Washington, and he told Braddock that he must fight Native American style if he was to win here in America. Braddock did not listen. He said it was not civilized to fight like savages and hide behind trees and bushes. Braddock was defeated and the British soldiers fled to Philadelphia. This caused the English colonists to become angry. They said that their frontier was no longer protected and that they would have to protect it for themselves if they could not depend on the British King's troops. After that, the war dragged on. The families and settlements along the frontier were constantly in danger of being swooped down on, scalped, and having their cabins burned to the ground. Finally, a new and smarter English general, General James Wolfe, was given charge of the war. He sent generals and many soldiers to the colonies. It was then that the English began to win battles. But it was decided by the English that to win the war, the French city of Quebec must be captured. But Quebec was on a high cliff and guarded very well. It took months for General Wolfe to find a way to attack the city, but finally he and his army were able to capture Quebec. Wolfe and the French commander, Montcalm, were both killed in that battle, but the English had won the war. A treaty, the Treaty of 1763, was signed by the English and the French in Paris in 1763. In 1763, the French gave up New France. England got Canada and the land west of the Mississippi River. Except that Spain, who had helped France, got New Orleans and all of Louisiana west of the Mississippi River. So France lost its empire in the New World. The war caused much of North America to belong to the English. Also, the war caused the English colonies to become more independent in spirit. This happened because Braddock's defeat made the colonists realize that they needed to work together to help each other more than ever before.